Yes, Columbus. An Experience Columbus podcast keeps you in the know of what's happening in the Art City. Columbus, home of the 3-time MLS Cup champions. The number 5 beer city, a top 10 culinary destination with the largest concentration of fashion professionals in the U.S. Join iHeartMedia's boxer, Sarah Towns, Experience Columbus's Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer, and their guests for an inside look at a destination that invites visitors and locals alike to explore. By the end of each podcast, you'll be asking yourself, can all this really exist in one city? Yes, Columbus.
Hello and welcome back to Yes, Columbus, an Experience Columbus podcast. I'm one of the co-hosts, Boxer, along with the better half of me, Sarah Towns.
Aw,
Hi,
thanks,
Sarah.
Boxer. Good to see you. Each episode, we talk with the people behind the places that make Columbus such a vibrant, creative, and welcoming city. And today's guest, he's someone whose throwback threads have become modern icons.
I am super excited. So before we dive into today's conversation, let's start with our headliner segment. This is where we headline or highlight a recent story or accolade about Columbus. Columbus was recently featured on Insider Hook's list of unexpected favorites. So 65 less obvious cities to add to your list, where they said, quote, Columbus blends a lively cultural scene, thriving local businesses, and a welcoming spirit that surprises visitors and locals alike. I think most could agree with that.
I think so too. It's a fitting nod to a city that's full of hidden gems, from creative startups to a vibrant fashion scene and a dynamic arts community. That spirit of discovery and authenticity is embodied in today's guest.
It certainly is, and it gives me great pleasure and excitement to welcome Ryan Vesler, the founder, CEO, and Chief Mall Kiosk Strategist of HOMAGE, a brand that started with vintage tees and grew into I would say, a cultural force. Ryan, welcome to the podcast. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
HOMAGE has such a strong identity and loyal following. Can you take us back to the early days of HOMAGE? What sparked the idea?
So I think I just have always loved T-shirts. My older sister used to take me to the thrift store, and I'd find just gems, one-of-a-kind gems, some cool vintage sports tee or old Reese's Pieces tee. And it was like really soft and broken in. So it wasn't like starchy, thick cotton. And just said, like, someone should try to make these again. So that was kind of the genesis. And then the first business that taught me about it was selling the vintage stuff on eBay. That's where I learned, like, the old tags, the old brands, some of the old stories. And then also the eBay business was cool because I got to, like, learn how to run a mini business. You have shipping, listing, customer service, accounting, all that stuff. So
Ryan, I didn't know this started with eBay.
I didn't either.
Wow.
yeah.
How many years ago?
Oh, man. Well, the business, so the LLC was, we have this date in April that we celebrate. It's like the LLC filing date. But I was doing eBay before that. So for several years, eBay started in college, and my roommate, would make jokes about there being vintage clothing from thrift stores all over the dorm room. And, but deep down, I think he liked it, so he put up with me. Thank you, Elijah. I'm gonna send him. He's a photographer, so I'll let him know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, if he had shut me down, like, who knows where I'd be. So,
Right.
I will say I don't love T-shirts, but I love HOMAGE T-shirts because of exactly what you said, that broken in, soft feel. There is no fabric and no T-shirt that I would rather wear because of that. So awesome.
thank you.
It feels good. I mean,
it feels
just
so good. I know Boxer's got one on today.
I had to. Saluting Ryan. Absolutely.
Right.
I'm learning that people have different expectations of what they want a T-shirt to be, and, like, if you grew up and, like, heavier weight cotton was like kind of what you're used to, like, you might view our shirt as, like, thin or cheap. And so I think, this is a great product for what it is. I think then we say, hey, do we think about heavyweight, because, like, people.
You have thought about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thinking about where the brand goes, because it's kind of like, hey, here's our one T-shirt. Like, what if somebody is looking for something else? We can kind of meet them where they are. So.
But don't ever get rid of this
no,
material.
no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no, this is the
No,
core.
it's
This is the
it's
core.
a staple. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you have
Okay.
you have a strong core foundation, but then you can go and think about other things.
So interesting. So over the years, Homage has grown from being sold in kiosks to landing major brand collaborations and a national audience. What were some key moments or decisions that helped fuel that growth?
You think about specific moments, and it's sort of first, it's a lot of hard work by a lot of people over many years of doing projects and working with different people. But I think if you go back to a moment in time, you think about becoming an Ohio State licensee, because everybody on the outside looking in, Ohio State has one of the most coveted, best licensing departments. They've always done it themselves, and I think getting that license in the beginning was so important because Buckeye fans are everywhere, and so you could talk to Buckeye fans, and then when it came time to like add different subjects and themes, like another pivotal moment, NBA, getting the NBA license. So, like you could see how important that wide foundation was with Buckeye Nations. And, you have a question about how Columbus has been for us. So I'm kind of combining questions, but I just think from the beginning, like people here have been incredibly supportive of me, of the business, of the idea, of the notion of paying homage. And so I always, take it back to that OSU license.
Ryan, was that the first license you got for the company, or
Not the first? I mean,
okay.
Early, there's other Ohio schools that it's just an easier process to get the license. So, being an OU grad, we had OU. We probably had Kent State, Bowling Green, Miami.
Yeah.
But getting that Ohio State one was like the next tier.
Right.
No offense to my Bobcats. I mean,
Ryan, just out of curiosity, I get it. The OSU license, the creme de la creme. How long did it take you to get a license like Ohio State's or the NBA's?
So the first time I applied for Ohio State, I think I got denied. I just filled out the form. Like I didn't really think about the why. So the second time was this very large presentation board that I needed a pickup truck. So I drove it. The application was due. I dropped it off the second time. And then I had this huge board, and they were like, what do we do with this? But on the board was the vision. And so it can take a long time to get a license because you have to convince a licensing department that you have an idea that is going to be incremental or beneficial to them. So something white space. Because if you're pitching them something that they already have, like why,
Yeah.
So you're creatively looking for something new and unique to offer to your licensors, and that can take time. So like the NFL, we joked that was like a 10-year project because I had a Columbus Academy Viking helmet.
Oh yeah.
At high school, go Vikes. And the logo, the old logo was kind of similar to the Minnesota Vikings. And so I received a letter, and as they should, right? They're enforcing the IP. So,
Yeah.
And then Academy had to rebrand because they realized that like their Viking head and the Minnesota Vikings were similar, and it's all good. There's no beef between
bad
Columbus
blood.
Academy and Minnesota. We love the Vikings. Great
So
team
do,
store.
So do Boxer. Now.
That's
Okay,
right.
Okay. Yeah. So I like to joke about the NFL being a kind of a 10-year project, and now we have it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not many people know this. The 11th floor of 16 East Broad was the first headquarters of the NFL when it became the NFL. So Joseph
Wow.
Carr,
I didn't know that.
I
Joseph
did
Carr and his
not.
secretary, she's the first female employee of the NFL. So we went up there, and it's like you're in the presence of where the NFL started.
Wow.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'd love to see a picture of your vision board. I bet it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to
It's-
picture what that looked like.
It's kind of like it was,
You still have it?
yeah, but it kind of like dilapidated. I remember we were prepping the board the night before and like pinning things. It was like a mood board, like
Yeah.
an OSU mood board. Because I was like, okay, like I need to show them
You're bringing the vision to life.
OSU history and say, these are the fabrics, these are the stories, like this is what the product's going to be. So
Yeah.
Love that.
Ryan, we touched on it, or you did a little bit earlier, but could we talk a little bit about the whole process of when I see your shirts and all the creativity, you're talking about connecting the stories with the people that would be buying them. And you're right, there is a connection with every shirt. I'm wearing a Chewbacca Star Wars shirt. I love Star Wars. There, some of the sayings, I've got a ton of them. I've got no joke, a closet full of homage shirts. But how does the process work? Is it a once a week, everyone sits down, you throw things at the wall? Or how does it work, the process?
Well, it depends if you're talking about in the beginning or now. Because in the beginning, it was like, hey, here's a cool shirt idea. Let's do it. Now it's like, let's build out a framework, a sports season. So like NFL, you're thinking July when training camp starts all the way through Super Bowl in February. So you're trying to build frameworks because it's a lot of different content and storytelling to try to thread. And so like, we don't want to bombard people with stories, but we have a lot going on. And so the process can start 6 months out, even 12 months out. If you're doing anything special that's imported, like cut and sew, you might need a year. I mean, most brands are booking a year out. They're showing their catalog, and then the stuff's coming in for the next season. We work on a very different at a different pace, because t-shirts like move at the speed of the world. So like something can happen in the sports world, and like a team buyer is calling you and they want something overnighted. Like that's a part of it. So
wow,
as much as I talk about framework, it's still, and trying to be disciplined and have these seasons and this thoughtful presentation, like it's moving very fast. Like Pacers, Knicks, demand is surging for those teams.
Ryan, who's called you and needed something overnight or immediately? Can I ask a team,
if you
celebrity?
If you need something overnight, like who's called me?
Yeah. Who's
just like the team partners, because like these games, you have a limited window to sell, and like every day counts, and so like the quicker you can get it printed and shipped.
What is the quickest you've been able to turn around a special buy
Good
like
question.
that?
Oh, I mean overnight.
That's
like
awesome.
if it's worth it, like you absolutely go overnight. Speed is everything in this business, technology and speed and automation.
So Ryan, you have the crew to crank something out the next day. I mean, if a team needs something, boom, like that.
Well, if it's, not to get too into the weeds, if it's an approved design, we can reprint, no problem. If it's a new design, then there's the design time, and then there's the period of time that somebody will be reviewing it.
Okay.
Like checking for, quality. Like, are the logos correct? Is the colorway correct? So it's not, again, it's kind of.
Yeah. How long does that take?
Usually a couple days.
Okay.
It's you got to, if it's a player design, I'll just throw another wrench at you for a second. If it's a player design, then the PA, the Players Association, has to weigh in.
Oh, wow.
So your question of like what people don't realize is, in some cases there are 3 or 4 people involved in a t-shirt on the artwork approval side. Like I'll take a Topps trading card tee. That's Topps. That's Major League Baseball, and that's the Major League Baseball Players Association. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan, real quick, did you learn some of this as you go? Did you know all of this in advance?
I knew nothing. Zero. I joke that I'm like,
it's just
taught myself
amazing.
the basics of IP law, because I'm trademarks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to learn in the beginning because it would save money, because I didn't want to have to, those lawyers with their billable hours.
Yeah.
No offense to all the fine Columbus law firms.
My husband's an attorney. So Ryan, let's talk about culture and community impact. From celebrating Ohio sports to supporting social causes, Homage has been more than just a clothing brand. What role do you think businesses can play in shaping a community's identity?
Well, I was with somebody that I admire, and he said, like you probably lose sight of this, and I do, because I'm in the weeds. But he said, like, the ability to employ people so that they come to work and have a job is like, it kind of hit me when he said it that way, because I just, I'm like so in the weeds with the business that, I think creating a great work environment for people and building a brand that people want to be a part of is a privilege and a gift. So he kind of like had me look at it from a different lens. And then from there, it's like, how would that business interface in the community? Lots of businesses do incredible work in the community from end to end. Our particular lane has been using the T-shirt as a canvas to help other organizations. I think, for nonprofits, it's been a fundraising tool, which is kind of cool. Or if we designed something and we sold it and then a donation was made, a small nonprofit can get a check of a couple $1,000s. And what I learned is that actually is very meaningful to smaller organizations. And we've worked from nonprofits ranging from big to small. And that's just been, overall, as I look back, a really fulfilling, meaningful, just part of this business. Because when you start in the business, you're like, I'm going to build an apparel company. Like, I'm going to build a sports brand or whatever. Like, you don't think like you're going to be involved in the community doing nonprofit work. So the challenge will be, as we continue to grow more nationally, how do we hold on to the things in Columbus that are still meaningful? So I'm kind of grappling with that every day because I think you could look at Jenny's, and like when Jenny started to grow, it's ultimately like growth is change, and something can go from small to big, but can we still hold on to the some of our roots?
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're such an important community advocate, and we appreciate that. But speaking of the national attention that you've received recently, due to an influx of celebrity investors like Ryan Reynolds, Kevin Durant, Jason Kelce, and even Taylor Swift was seen sporting the apparel, did you ever in your wildest dreams imagine Homage would reach this level, becoming a brand worn by icons and backed by global superstars?
Probably not. I have a lot of pinch me moments all the time. That external recognition is amazing, but it's like also the partnerships too, like national partnerships like Topps. Like, so you have to imagine like a kid who grew up collecting trading cards. Like I knew the Beckett price guide. I knew all the prices. I knew every player in MLB. Which I look back, I'm like, how did I do that? Because I couldn't do that now. So working with Topps is like, whoa. So it's been an incredible ride. I mean, I think having the opportunity to partner with these folks, just like helping, being a part of their journey too. Like the Jason Kelce relationship started just doing merchandise for New Heights. And so that was just like an Ohio, brand wanting to celebrate, two guys from Ohio. So some of these things, like, they just happen. They just evolve. Like you don't, have a plan for them. They just kind of, put good energy out into the world, and these kinds of things happen. But it's amazing to have this roster of partners. Like Wrexham just got promoted, and we had merch, and Ryan posted about it, or Jason Kelce retired, and we had a shirt celebrating his career that gave back to his foundation. Like really cool pinch me moments across the board.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Ryan, are there any surprise, maybe collabs or future promos that are in the works that you could share with us?
Things are always marinating. Let's see, because if I say it, then it has to come true.
Okay. Say it and pray it.
Say it and pray it. So we have something coming out with Jimmy Johnson to celebrate a very significant start for him, and working with his team directly to create a pay homage moment, to have the opportunity to pay homage to him, and is super cool. And that's because we did the pay homage with Cam Hayward, right? So remember how I said you just kind of like put good energy out in the universe?
Yeah.
She saw the Jimmy Johnson's representative saw the Cam Hayward tribute that we did. He appeared on a shirt with his father, who passed away, Ironhead Hayward, and Ironhead is like looking out over his son. So we collaborated with him on that, and that's because he's an Ohio State guy. So I don't know, maybe I'm just back at Ohio State, like this good energy out in the world, and now Cam Hayward, Jimmy Johnson. It's just it's been a crazy 18 years.
Well, and you know what? I forgot to mention this too earlier when you're talking about giving back. And I have one. My whole family has one of these T-shirts. You paid tribute to the late Demetrius Stanley, and what you did with that, the proceeds that That, by the way, that was a great tee. Just, he's holding on to the rose, the famous picture of him for the Rose Bowl. But that's just another great way you guys have given back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to honor him and to work with Jessica Stanley.
Yeah.
She's keeping his memory alive with the Brave Men Foundation.
Brave Men. Yep, Brave Men Inc.
Brave Men Inc. Yeah.
Yep.
And just to be able to support her and what she wants to do, and because we have a great relationship with Ohio State, and so we have great artists who could make a beautiful design, and then that can pay it forward a little bit.
So cool. So you have stayed rooted in Columbus through all of this amazing growth. Why did you say yes to building and growing Homage here?
There's definitely retail in the water here, right? Like Limited, A&F, Express, Justice. So like in certain ways, like we kind of were, some of our early employees were kind of, and teammates over the years have been, learned at corporate retail. So they brought some of that. And then here, like people are so generous with their time. I mean, I've had so many mentors over the years who have agreed to meet with me, just give me advice during very trying times. It's just, it's an amazing place to grow a business. I go to New York on work trips, and I think like, in my early days, I'm like lugging, I'm like driving around like samples in my car. And I'm like, man, this would be like more complicated, more expensive, more competitive if I'm in New York. So Columbus, I don't know, there's just something about the right grouping of elements between, retail on the water, generous people, Ohio State, a great community that embraced me. Like it just all kind of melded in a unique way.
Yeah. Everything that you said, and then you're reading stuff like what Les Wexner founded and what he created. It was a logistics thing too. It was a location thing, right? As far as shipping goes, getting your product from point A to point B.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think as they grew, it was like, how can we be more efficient? And, Rickenbacker Airport.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
they built, sourcing. They had a trucking company. So like, yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting. It ended up being like just its geography being such a great hub because of how much of the country you can reach within a certain time frame. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, it's time for our rapid fire questions, Columbus edition. Are you ready? Sarah, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All
right, let's do it. Ryan, where are you taking a first-time visitor to Columbus?
Definitely Katzinger's or Block's Bagels.
Ooh, good choices.
All right, so Ryan, what's a place or experience in Columbus that doesn't get enough credit?
Place or experience? I mean, the Metro Parks are amazing. You should go check them out.
That's right. Lots of green space, especially during the summer time frame, but beautiful year-round. Ryan, best activity to do in Columbus during the summer?
During the summer? Oh, you could attend a festival, walk around Arts Fest, ComFest, clothing optional maybe at ComFest. I don't know what the latest rules and regulations are, but...
So many festivals every weekend.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, we're going to switch gears now for our last two segments. Our next one is called Columbus Classics. This podcast is all about uncovering what's new, but we also love the tried and true places and experiences. Can you tell us about a classic Columbus experience you love? It could be a neighborhood, a restaurant, or anything.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's hard to pick one, but I'll just pick Stoff's. I mean, like in different waves of coffee revolutions, not to get too into the weeds, but like what Stoff's represents in the evolution of coffee experiences. And it's so unique in Grandview, and like you just go in there on a Saturday morning and like look at who all is there, from like neighbors to students. It's just kind of a gem. It's kind of a unicorn, that Stoff's in Grandview. And then like they're roasting beans, and so you can smell it outside. We
have one more segment. What are you saying yes to in Columbus this season? What's one thing?
This season?
Yeah.
Arts Festival. Mm-hmm. That's always a good time, cruising around. Yeah. ComFest. Used to have great memories of selling at ComFest.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
They snatched those teas up there, I bet.
Yeah, well we had special festival pricing. I was so exhausted one weekend, I stumbled to my friend's house who lived like around Goodale, and took a nap on his couch for 2 hours. Because like the loading, like you couldn't like pack out until like 2 a.m. And then I had to be back there the next morning at 7 a.m. And it's so hot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the hustle. I don't think I could do that again.
You got people for that.
You got me.
You got people for that. Interns.
I'd want to do it. I just don't know if my body can survive on like 3 or 4 or 5 hours of
Yeah,
sleep.
in the
That was-
heat. That's
that
tough.
was crazy.
Well, look, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Homage, of course, is, I mean, to me alone, but everyone is such a beloved part of the Columbus community. And it's amazing to just be able to hear how it all began. And we appreciate your time and, of course, where you're headed, too.
Yeah.
To learn more about Homage, of course, and shop for the latest trends and drops, you can just go to homage.com. That's HOMAGE.com. And, of course, for more great ways to experience Columbus, just follow along on social media or head to experiencecolumbus.com or do both. Thank you for listening to Yes Columbus, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, guys.
That's a wrap on this week's episode of Yes Columbus, an Experience Columbus podcast. Tune in next week as we take you on a tour of what's new, what's hot, and what makes Columbus a city on the rise.